Good morning. Welcome again to another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. I'm always excited when I do this. I'll have the opportunity to interview people to kind of help our students with more information they could get to kind of go through college. Today, we're going to be talking about work-based learning. You will be seeing an interview we did on apprenticeship, entrepreneurship, and this is work-based learning. Any opportunity we could get, we'll provide to you. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Help me in welcoming Ms. Kathy.
Good morning, Chris.
Good
Thank
morning,
you for
Kathy.
having me here today.
It is my pleasure. How are you doing?
Doing really well.
That's good. So let's start. This is a question that I always kind of want to surprise my guests with, but it's not a trick question, but it's always just kind of an icebreaker. So tell us a little bit about how your whole career path started. But most importantly, now that you're at work-based learning, is that what you've always envisioned doing?
Okay,
Yes.
Great question to start off. Believe it or not, after I graduated from college a few years ago, I was actually a high school teacher and decided that my passion was really helping people find their career pathways. And I wasn't able to devote as much time as I wanted to just being a classroom teacher. So went back, got a master's degree at wonderful East Carolina University, did a practicum in a community college in Wilmington and said, wow, this is phenomenal. I'm helping people see where they can be in the future with a career path. So after that, finished that degree, actually worked in South Carolina for a few years at Coastal Carolina University, University of South Carolina's Honors College, and a technical community college. And throughout that whole time, got to work with young adults and adults in kind of finding their career pathways. And then wound up back in North Carolina here at Wake Tech, started off as an advisor in student services, and then transitioned to the role that I have now as Director of Work-Based Learning, which is definitely my passion, helping people see where they can envision a future career and helping them to get there.
Great. Would you say this is the best opportunity you've had so far? And it's not because you're work-based learning, but I need you to be honest. Great journey that you've taken right now, work-based learning. Which of all those journeys was your favorite?
I would have to say this one probably is now, because there's just such a clear correlation between students getting out, going to work, being able to see where they're going to be when they graduate from Wake Tech, and the excitement for those students who get those jobs, and then at the end of the semester getting that feedback that says, wow, this was so important to help me affirm my career choice, get experience, and see that I will be able to be successful in my career field.
Okay, that's great. So I don't know anything about work-based learning, and I intentionally didn't also want to research anything about work-based learning, so I will be on the same level just like my students who need information about work-based learning. So let's start with that. What is work-based learning?
Work-based learning at Wake Tech is a way for students in our associate and applied science degree programs to get out, get real world of work experience while they can earn elective credit towards their graduation requirements. And in a majority of the cases, they are being paid by an employer. So that gives them extra income to apply towards their college expenses.
Okay, very well said, nice and brief. That's good. So from what you just told me, getting paid, working, I'm looking at it as more of an internship. How different
Correct.
is it? Right.
Work-based learning you could think of as cooperative education, because there is eligibility criteria that our students must meet in order to go out and participate. That's not always the case in an internship. So they meet our eligibility criteria, find employment, they are able to work with an employer, and I mentioned getting that elective credit towards their graduation requirements, which you don't always get in an internship experience, and getting paid. And not all internships are paid. So it is more truly a cooperative education experience.
So I'm smiling because I just remembered when I reached out to you to see if we could do this interview, and you responded, you're like, Chris, I just want you to know work-based learning is not for your transfer students.
Correct.
And I think it's very interesting. I was like, yeah, I think I knew that. So why isn't it for transfer students? Yes.
Good question.
Right.
One simple and basic answer is because it's not in their program of study. It's not a transferable credit to our four-year partners. But more importantly, I think any student who is in our university transfer program would want to get to that four-year institution, take some of their upper level courses, and then work with the Career Services Office at that four-year institution to get an internship, to do a co-op program, because they're going to find that they can really help them connect sometimes with alumni of the college to get them really great experiences that are relevant to their four-year degree program. And unfortunately, when they're here at Wake Tech, they're taking those gen ed classes, their general education classes, and they haven't really delved into the courses in their degree program yet. So they really need that background in their four-year degree program before they go out and do an internship or co-op or those experiences.
Right. So again, just a plug for my transfer students not to feel left out. I'm very happy with your explanation for the different opportunities that they have. So when I hear work-based learning, I also hear apprenticeship, and I also hear customized training, different terms,
Sure.
Right? What are the differences, if any?
There are lots of differences, definitely. Apprenticeships we look at when an individual wants to sign on with a company looking at a long-term commitment, typically about 4 years. There is a lot of on-the-job training that takes place with an apprenticeship program, while that student is also getting an education. So I'd say it's probably more 80% on-the-job training, 20% in a classroom. But looking at that long-term commitment that that individual is going to be with that employer probably 4 years. Okay. And then earning an industry credential, like a journeyman's kind of certificate at the conclusion of that. Customized training is more dictated by employers who say, we want to train our employees to learn how to use a new piece of equipment that we've attained, or we're changing our production and manufacturing, so we need to upskill and retrain our employees on what we're now producing or manufacturing. So it's not necessarily in experiential learning the way that co-ops are, apprenticeships are, work-based learning, internships. So that's more directed by the employer.
Okay, great. Now we're going to stick just to work-based learning after now we got all the differences. So for work-based learning, walk us through a very typical, let's start with what are some of the different work-based programs that students can enroll in?
Sure. Here at Wake Tech, we have 10 degrees that work-based learning is a requirement in the program of study before you graduate. Take, for example, if I'm a student in culinary arts, baking pastry arts, hospitality management, or human services technology, I must complete at least a semester of work-based learning before I can graduate. In 44 of our programs, which is the majority of our associate and applied science degree programs, it's an elective. Okay. So students, if they find they can fit it in, would want to participate. We realize some students have transportation issues, childcare issues, and it may not work out, but it is an elective. So it gives them the option to choose to participate, or if they need to, take another academic course. So at Wake Tech, for our students that meet our eligibility criteria, then we strongly encourage them to take advantage of participation in work-based learning to get that real world of work experience to put on their resumes before graduation.
That's great. So you just made a very interesting point, and I was going to ask if what does a student who is part of work-based learning at the end, what do they get? Is it a diploma? Is it a certificate that says, hey, congratulations, you've completed your work-based learning? Is that how that works?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's an academic course that a student registers for. So at the conclusion of the semester, they're going to see that they hopefully earned a pass, because we don't have an academic letter grade for our work-based learning courses. So they'll see it on their transcript that they've received a passing grade for the course. Based on the surveys that our office completes with students who participate in work-based learning, we find that about 63% of students get some type of offer of employment. It could be a permanent role, could be a part-time role, could be continued temporary work. For a lot of our students, that's what they're hoping for as the outcome, is to be able to say, the employer offered me continued employment. So that's what most of our students are looking for, along with the fact that they passed another academic course at Wake Tech.
So that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you is what are the opportunities for the work-based learning students with the companies? Do they stay with them? Do they leave the companies while they're doing? But I think you've kind of answered that question, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let's come back to that.
Sure.
I've heard you say, and I'm kind of on the same page when it comes to the opportunity that Wake Tech actually has. And I've heard you say, here at Wake Tech, here at Wake Tech, here at Wake Tech. Is work-based learning just unique program to Wake Tech, or is it a typical program for community colleges?
It is available at community colleges across the state. So if a student is enrolled at Central Piedmont Tech, they're going to find that they can also take advantage of work-based learning. So it is across the state at our 58 community colleges.
Great, great. Also, the other opportunity I always kind of like to talk about is this is my third kind of college institution, and I advise engineering students. And usually in all the 2 universities that I've been with, when a student is not able to kind of follow their path or their dream to become an engineer, unfortunately my only option to them is, well, let's look at what your strong science areas are, right? So that could be the physics, the chemistry, or the math. Here at Wake Tech, and maybe this applies to other community colleges, I think the options are much better because you could actually say, hey, maybe you still want to do engineering, let's look at the applied engineering, right? So that's one opportunity as well. And so when I hear work-based learning, when I hear apprenticeship or the customized training like you mentioned, I think these are very, very unique programs that come with community colleges, not necessarily your typical 4-year colleges.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Okay. So I think I'm getting more comfortable with kind of what work-based learning is. I was also very happy that you just clarified the requirements. That if you're with this program, it is required. If you're with this program, it is elective. Right. And also, I think you mentioned 10 different programs that you could be involved in, right? 10
programs at Wake Tech, it's a requirement for graduation. 44, it's an elective option.
Good, good. So for a student that, I'm actually trying to figure out how you help students or they decide when they come to Wake Tech whether to even go into work-based learning. It looks like some of them really don't have a choice because it comes with their programs, correct?
That is true.
Okay.
Some programs, they have no option. They're going to participate. Right. But hopefully as students come into Wake Tech through academic advising, they learn about this as an option. Okay. And when they get to their department and they meet with their departmental advisor, that departmental advisor highlights the fact, hey, would you like to be able to work and get some experience before you graduate? Well, here's a course in your program of study that's going to allow you to do that. And then that advisor will also help the student understand, well, maybe you're brand new, you haven't completed the 14 credit hours just yet that you need to in order to be eligible. So here's how you're going to get eligible by working on those major requirements. You'll probably be eligible at the end of the first year of your 2-year degree program. So that's hopefully how it happens. Students learn about work-based learning through their advisor. I also host a lot of information sessions where I go into classrooms, do a lot of virtual information sessions. Okay. And as students attend career fairs, they're also probably learning about that option as well, because I'll be at career fairs to talk to students and employers about work-based learning. Right,
that's great because I just interviewed the career fairs coordinator last week to kind of see what the options are, but I'm very happy that you do go to the career fairs as well to kind of help with that. That's great. What would you say are some of the advantages for students that go into these programs that have work-based learning?
I think for a lot of students, there are so many advantages. Certainly, it affirms your career choice. When you're able to get out and work in your career field before graduation, it lets you know, I picked the right major. I'm doing things that I enjoy. I see the relevance of what I'm learning in the classroom on the job. So for those students, they can take what they're learning in class, apply it to what they're doing out in the real world of work. They also make a lot of connections with people in their industry that they might not make if they just take all their classes at Wake Tech. So I hear from a lot of students, I really boosted my LinkedIn account. I went to the employee lounge and chit-chatted with people and got to know people outside my department, and I've really built a strong network of connections. So I think that's vital as well. You can't deny the fact that most students need some extra income.
Right.
And for students to be earning what I find is, extremely good wages when they're not yet graduates is
That's
a plus
great.
as well.
Yes. Wow.
So those are great opportunities to take advantage of if you can make it work.
Right, right. Well, Kathy, I think I'm excited about work-based learning, and like I said, I intentionally didn't want to research it because I kind of want to hear it from you, so that I'm also asking the right questions. For a student, again, I think you already answered that question. For a student comes to a program, they know, okay, this program requires work-based learning. We also know that the students could go through advising to kind of point them in the right direction. How do you interact with students that are in work-based learning?
Well, in terms of introducing them to the eligibility criteria, that comes through the information sessions, going to classes, helping them to connect with employer partners. Certainly our Career Services Office supports them in many ways to help them be able to get prepared for a job interview, have a great resume, but I think helping them to open the doors to find employers who are looking to hire students in their particular career fields. And then we do a lot with them at the end of the semester, surveying them to find out how was their overall experience, would they recommend that employer partner to another student coming up, and really what were the intrinsic rewards as well that they got from that experience.
Great. So I got myself into trouble once when I said, we as engineering faculty, we should make it our duty and responsibility to find internship for our students. And faculty were like, no way, students should go out there themselves to find internship for themselves. And I bring that up because it looks like the way work-based learning is set up, you do have companies that you actually help the students with, correct? Or are students also required to go out there and look for their own opportunities?
Well, I'd say it's a combination of both. It is the student's responsibility to find their own employment. We certainly don't recommend students to employers, but we do help make those connections. And a lot of departments are very assertive in setting up employer information events, so their students learn about the opportunities in their career fields by hearing from employers one-on-one. But whenever I have a student who reaches out and says, hey, I really want to do work-based learning, but I haven't been able to find a job, then I certainly reach out to those employers in that student's career field and find out, would they be willing to take on a student from Wake Tech, and then kind of make that introduction to say, here's some possible employers who'd be interested in speaking with you. Why don't you send them a resume, and then you'll need to take it from there. I'm just kind of making an introduction for you.
Okay, that's great. So since this is like for those programs that work-based learning is required, have you had a situation where a student cannot find somebody to work with or work for? And how do they fulfill that requirement then, if that's the case?
Thankfully not.
Yeah, great.
We seem to find in those areas where it is a requirement that the demand is very high for those individuals. So fortunately, we typically have more employer partners wanting to hire students than we have students who are eligible in a particular semester. This spring semester, we have 142 students who are participating in work-based learning. And we average over 100 students a semester, except I'd say the pandemic decreased things slightly, but we've seen it pick up nicely. So
that's great. All right. So as we're getting ready here to kind of wrap up and to close very quickly, could you help us again with some of the programs that require the work-based learning for the students that are thinking about, okay, I'm interested in work-based learning, but what can I get into to get into work-based learning? What are some of the programs that we offer here that requires work-based learning?
Programs here that require work-based learning, as I mentioned, culinary arts, baking pastry arts, hospitality management, and then our human services technology, they have multiple tracks. They have a substance abuse track, mental health track, a gerontology track, and just a general track. So all of those students are required to participate in work-based learning. But within your division, it ranges from interior design students who can participate to civil engineering technology, mechanical engineering technology, electronics engineering technology, electrical systems. So it's all across the board within your division, as well as in our IT division, even in our health sciences division. We have health and fitness science students who participate. So transportation technology, all across the college.
Right.
If you're in one of our associate and applied science degree majors, you're going to find it's probably an option to participate in work-based learning, at least 1 credit hour.
Kathy, this has been great. This is amazing, great information. What is the one thing you would like to tell students that are in the work-based learning? What's one advice you will have for them?
I would say start thinking about it early.
Okay.
So that you can get prepared, because with the job market the way it is now, I tell students you need to have a resume ready to go on a moment's notice. You need to be prepared to interview, because so many students apply for positions, I think maybe expecting they won't get that call, or it might not come as quickly as it does. So sometimes they're not ready when that employer says, I'd like to interview you on Thursday, Chris, how about it? And they're thinking, oh no, I'm not really ready for this. So I tell students, don't procrastinate. Get a great resume ready, work with a career specialist on a practice interview, and be ready to go and take advantage of this great opportunity. It's wonderful to get that experience, have it to put on your resume, have extra cash, and get elective credit towards your graduation requirements. You really can't go wrong if you can find a way to participate. So start exploring your options, research companies that you're interested in working in. I think students need to do more of that as well. Really align your career goals with the companies that you're interested in working for.
Great. I'm not trying to send everybody your way, but how can students find you?
It's very easy. We have a work-based learning website, and it's easy to remember because it's wbl.waketech.edu. There'll be a student tab, employer tab, and a contact us tab. When they get to that page, they go to contact us. They can click on my name, Kathy Frederick. They can email me any questions. For students who are also looking for who is their faculty coordinator, on the contact us page, they can just scroll down, find their major, and they'll find their faculty coordinator as well.
Well, there we have it. Another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. Once again, don't ever say I don't get you information. I will interview, and I've done my best to interview everyone to provide some information. I hope you got some great information from work-based learning, and also how to reach out if you need more information about work-based learning. Kathy, this is a pleasure. Thank you very much for doing this interview. And I will send questions your way if they come my way.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for the opportunity to help promote work-based learning. I wish every student at Wake Tech who has it in their program of study would take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.